The story of a child, a pencil, and nothing to lose. Once upon a time, in a quiet neighborhood of Memphis, lived a young boy named Larry Walker. He lived on Nace Street and attended Chicago Park Elementary School. Like any other 6-year-old first grader, Larry was full of energy, curiosity, and a love for exploration. But Larry had a special gift. He saw beauty everywhere. The flutter of a butterfly, the way raindrops slid down the window, or even the shadows cast by trees along the sidewalk fascinated him. In his eyes, the world was a canvas of endless art. Despite his unique way of seeing the world, Larry never thought of himself as an artist. He admired his classmates, who often sketched superheroes or flowers during free time, but he was convinced that drawing wasn't his talent. "I'm not good at that," he would say to himself, watching his friends from the sidelines. As Larry grew older, his love for art remained, though his confidence in creating it did not. By the time he reached 9th grade, Larry found himself in art class, but not as the star pupil. Instead, he became known as the helpful one, always ready to pass out paper and pencils to his classmates. Despite sitting in a room filled with artistic tools, Larry never picked up a pencil to draw. One fateful day, Mrs. Green, the art teacher, announced a school-wide bookmark art contest. The idea was simple. The top 3 designs would be printed and used in the library, with prizes awarded to the winners. "I encourage all of you to enter," Mrs. Green said enthusiastically. But Larry wasn't paying much attention. Contests were for the real artists, not him. Besides, he had always gotten a C in art, not because of a lack of talent, but because he never turned in his work. Then, Mrs. Green added something that caught Larry's attention, "And for anyone who submits a design, I'll raise your grade by 1 letter." Larry perked up. A B in art, he thought. All I have to do is turn in something? It seemed like a small effort for a big reward. Without hesitation, he decided to enter the contest. After all, he had nothing to lose. That evening, Larry sat at his desk, staring at a blank piece of paper. He felt nervous. It had been years since he had tried to draw anything. But as he looked at the page, his mind began to wander. He thought about the trees he saw every day, the patterns in the clouds, and the sunlight filtering through the leaves. And then, without thinking too much about it, he began to draw. He wasn't trying to make anything perfect. He wasn't worried about how it looked. He just let his pencil flow, creating shapes and lines that felt natural. For the first time in a long time, Larry wasn't focused on whether his drawing was good or bad, he was simply enjoying the process. When he finished, he looked at his bookmark design. It was simple, but he liked it. The next day, he turned it in, still not expecting much. His goal was the grade boost, nothing more. A few days later, the principal's voice came over the loudspeaker, "Students, we have the winners of the bookmark art contest. In 3rd place, we have Larry Walker." Larry's heart skipped a beat. "What? Me?" he thought, in disbelief. His classmates turned to look at him, their eyes wide with surprise. Larry wasn't just the kid who handed out supplies anymore, he was a winner, an artist. Larry's heart raced as he walked to the front office to claim his prize. His legs felt wobbly, and his mind was still buzzing with excitement. When Mrs. Green handed him his 3rd place ribbon, it shimmered with shiny gold letters spelling out 3rd place. Then, to Larry's delight, she'd placed a 3 Musketeers candy bar in his hand. Larry grinned from ear to ear, clutching both the ribbon and the candy bar as if they were treasures. Larry never unwrapped the 3 Musketeers candy bar. Instead, he walked around the classroom day after day, holding it high like a trophy. It became his badge of honor, a symbol of his newfound belief in himself. He paraded it through the hallways, his 3rd place ribbon tied around his neck, a wide grin on his face. To Larry, that candy bar wasn't just a piece of chocolate, it was a reminder that he could achieve something, that he was a winner. It didn't matter to him how many people entered the contest or what others thought. That small victory had ignited something in him, and the candy bar became a cherished symbol of the moment he realized he could create art. Larry believed he was an artist. He tied the third-place ribbon around his neck like a medallion and held the candy bar up like it was a trophy. To him, this was more than just a small school contest. This was the start of something special. Larry couldn't stop talking about how important that ribbon and candy bar were to him. During recess, lunch, and even in the classroom, he told anyone who would listen about his prize. Some of the students, who he used to look up to as real artists, grew tired of hearing it. One day, a classmate rolled his eyes and said, "Look, Larry, everyone knows the only reason Mrs. Green kept asking us to enter that contest was because there weren't many entries. The whole school knows that only 3 students entered. You won by default." Larry paused for a second, absorbing the words. His classmate might have been right, maybe there were only 3 entries, but to Larry, it didn't matter. He smiled, clutching his ribbon and candy bar tighter. He knew that he was a winner. He knew that he was an artist, no matter what anyone said. From that moment on, Larry began to draw or paint every day. He didn't care about what others thought or how many entries there were in a contest. He had found his confidence, and nothing could take that away. Each stroke of the pencil, each splash of paint, reminded him of that first sweet taste of victory, and from then on, Larry Walker would never stop creating. Larry's dedication didn't go unnoticed. By the time he reached his senior year at Northside High School, he had become known as the class artist. His peers admired his talent, and his teachers saw great potential in him. As graduation approached, the senior class decided to leave a lasting gift for the school. They knew exactly who to ask for help. They commissioned Larry to draw a portrait of their beloved principal, Dr. Charles Woodard, as a tribute from the class of 1975. Larry was honored but nervous. This was the biggest project he had ever taken on. The portrait needed to be perfect, a representation of the respect and love the students had for Dr. Woodard. With steady hands and a heart full of determination, Larry worked for days, carefully capturing every detail. When the portrait was finally revealed at the awards ceremony, the room fell silent. Dr. Woodard, a stoic man, was visibly moved. Tears welled up in his eyes as he thanked Larry and the class of 1975 for their gift. The portrait wasn't just a likeness, it was a piece of art that would be remembered and cherished for generations to come. But that day held yet another surprise for Larry. As the ceremony came to a close, the principal stood before the students and made a life-changing announcement. Larry had been awarded a full scholarship to the Memphis College of Art. It was the beginning of a new chapter for Larry, a journey that would take him from the young boy who thought he couldn't draw to an artist with boundless potential. Over the years, Larry's talent flourished. He won the prestigious Grumbacher Art Award, became a sought-after artist in Memphis, and even painted portraits for the Memphis Hall of Mayors, including that of Dr. Willie Harrington, the city's first African-American mayor. Larry's legacy grew as he used his gift to inspire others. He created art programs for high school students, hosted a popular television show called Personal Portrait, and was commissioned to paint a portrait of the civil rights icon, Ida B. Wells, which now hangs in the Tennessee State Museum. Larry Walker had become more than an artist. He was a symbol of perseverance, talent, and the power of believing in oneself. And to think, it had all started with a simple decision to pick up a pencil and take a chance. Moral of the story: sometimes, all it takes is a small step outside of your comfort zone to discover a hidden talent. When you believe in yourself, the possibilities are endless.